And welcome viewers to another brand new episode of Mirror Prime. I'm Ashish Parekh. The answer to sunlight is more sunlight, not to close doors and shut everything down. This is what the Supreme Court said today in the wake of the uproar over the Karnataka High Court judge's controversial remarks. The judge in question referred to a certain part of Bengaluru as Pakistan. He also made some rather objectionable remarks while speaking to a female lawyer, and this has now prompted the top court to remind the custodians of law that their so-called casual remarks should also be made with a sense of responsibilities. With this controversy, there is now a debate on whether live streaming of courtroom proceedings should be allowed. Advocates Association of Bengaluru has demanded that the live streaming be stopped, but this also raises a very serious question. Should we shut off the cameras in courts due to controversies, or this is now just another way of escaping accountability? Is banning live streaming really the solution, or should we embrace it as a tool for transparency in our judicial process? We'll be talking about this and a lot more. Joining us on the broadcast, Kapil Madan, advocate, Kapil Sankla, Supreme Court lawyer, and also Advocate Parvez Memon, who is a senior partner at MZM Legal. Gentlemen, appreciative for joining us on the broadcast. A very significant observation by the Supreme Court today. And ideally, we should have been talking about how the Supreme Court has today reminded the custodians of law that even their casual remarks should be made with a sense of responsibilities. But for some reason, the narrative has now shifted to whether live streaming should be allowed in the courts or not. Kapil Madan, I'll start with you. Not very long ago, some very well-meaning legal luminaries were of the opinion that live streaming is a very great way of transparency in the judicial system. And suddenly, when this happened and when they started facing the heat, suddenly they seem to have realized that, well, this is something that courts a lot of controversy and this should be banned. What do you think about this entire controversy?
Now, let me give you some perspective. In our courts in India, we have a concept of open courts. That means any individual, whether he's a party in that case, whether he's not a party in that case, he can go in the trial court and he can sit in the court, watch the proceeding, whatever is happening, unless the court has directed in-camera proceedings, which usually happens in matters of sexual harassment or sexual violence cases. So, and having said that, once any person who is entitled to physically go and watch the proceedings, now if you draw the same parallel, I think having online live streaming of the court proceedings is a step in the right direction. But the question is, are we really ready for it? Is our audience really mature enough to understand how our criminal jurisprudence work? Now we have a situation now wherein you will have, if the judges passes an order in favor of any particular politician, you will see the judge getting trolled all over on the social media because the video gets viral. I will not name, but there was one particular politician whose family member also recorded the court proceedings and circulated it on the social media. So it's a new, having live streaming is a new concept. I agree that it's a step in the right direction, but we are not ready. We do not have the system and wherewithal to control what flows from there. Like, I just give you an example where people are trolling the video clips of Supreme Court hearings are being used on social media. So you have all these kind of challenges which raises some sort of a question mark, despite the fact that it is a step in the right direction. But we as an audience, the journal audience, are we really prepared?
Okay. Now, of course, we can talk a lot about whether the audience, whether the viewers are prepared, or whether the lawyers and, of course, the people inside the four walls, are they prepared for something like this as well? Of course, that's a very extended debate. We'll get into the details of that. But before we do that, Kapil Sankla, does live streaming of court proceedings, according to you, enhance transparency, or do you think this only increases the risk of unnecessary sensationalism and misinformation about what is said in the courtroom?
I completely agree with what Mr. Badan said in the first instance, and I will endorse what he said. You see, when you have a live streaming, it is an extension of an open court system. Anybody can go to the court and hear the matter. Exceptions, of course, are there. And that also raises another question. Should we close the doors to general public? Should we make it so exclusionist that a common man does not know what is happening, how judiciary and justice is getting dispensed? We, of course, don't want that. So, one of the hallmarks of a democratic country and a democratic nation is that every vertical is accountable. Every vertical of the government, of the nation, it could be legislature, judiciary, executive, is accountable to each other and most importantly to the general public. And you cannot create a my lord system. And I'm saying this with a lot of respect to my lords. You see, what happens is that Justice Chandrachud, the Honorable Supreme Court, has stated that we should do away with this concept of my lord. We should call judges as sir, which makes sense. But it is very difficult for us to, remove that yoke of what the Britishers gave us. But the other aspect is that, like RTI, which is one of the strongest examples of what an open nation, what an open country, what an open democracy is about, is also open judiciary. That every person can hear what is happening, how justice is being dispensed, what law is, how lawyers are, and also have the right to comment on it. And I think this is very important. I think we should now be mature. Like we say that, you cannot have defamation for everything. It is the same thing. That you cannot shut down systems saying that, because judges are getting trolled or lawyers are getting trolled or people in authority are getting trolled. Why not? Maturity flows both ways. It is important for the people to be matured, but it is also important for the people in power to be matured enough to understand that there could be certain people with faculties which are more childlike. Call them naughty. Call them people who do not understand authority. Or people who are doing it because they have nothing better to do. Judiciary does not fall down because certain person has trolled a particular judge or a judicial act. This is one part. Second part, we have a habit of making either demons or gods out of people. But judges are also human beings. They also read the paper. They also hear what you are saying. They also understand that there is something called public opinion, though they are supposed to be beyond that. But the fact is they're human beings. And as human beings, they could say something in the flow of an argument, a debate, or a discussion. I think we should be matured enough to understand that they're human beings. Merely because we call them my lords, they do not become demigods. They're just wiser than us. But even wise men falter. And lastly, very, very importantly, does this not humanize the judicial system, which is otherwise so complicated? Does this not tell a person that it's all right? There could be humor in court as well. Or there could be something that could be perhaps in bad taste. But I think judiciary is mature enough to understand this. And so are we as citizens of India. To give away our democratic rights or a right in RTI, for example, or give up an open judicial system, I think would be a very regressive step as far as nation is concerned. And we would be giving away a substantial part of our liberty should we choose to do that.